July 7, 2025, 2:17 a.m. Over the skies of eastern Ukraine, 17 Russian Shahed 136 drones pierced the darkness with a single mission: cripple Ukraine's defense infrastructure before dawn. Moving low, silent, and fast, they came in formation, not as a test, but as a strike. The targets were civilian power grids, transport hubs, and fuel reserves tied to NATO logistics. But this time, Russia had done its homework. These weren't just drones. They were upgraded, equipped with advanced GPS spoofers and radar-dodging navigation, designed to bypass the very systems Ukraine had used to intercept them in the past. In less than 4 minutes, those 17 drones were deep inside Ukrainian airspace. And for the first time in weeks, the sirens came too late. Ukraine responded immediately. Mobile NASAMS units, infrared ground teams, and Skyguard radars went live across 3 oblasts. They managed to down 14 drones before they could strike, but 3 got through, and those 3 were the reason this night changed everything. The first struck a major electrical substation on the outskirts of Dnipro, cutting power to over 70,000 homes and blacking out a section of highway used for military convoys. The second drone ripped through a civilian transport depot, destroying more than 40 aid vehicles lined up for humanitarian drop-offs. The third drone never exploded. It didn't crash, it disappeared. That's what made commanders nervous. Ukrainian officials suspect it wasn't carrying explosives. It was carrying intelligence, surveillance payloads, encrypted relays, the kind of gear that doesn't destroy a target, it builds one. Data harvested during the mission was likely beamed to Russian satellite relays before the drone lost signal. This wasn't just a drone strike, it was a coordinated data raid. And it worked, because now Russia doesn't just know where to hit. It knows how fast Ukraine responds, which radar zones light up first, and where the gaps are. Ukraine's Minister of Defense issued a one-line statement just 90 minutes after the attack. This was not random. This was a rehearsal. And the next time, it won't be 17 drones. 4:09 a.m. Less than 2 hours after the strike, Ukraine's response was already airborne. From multiple undisclosed launch sites, long-range kamikaze drones were deployed toward Belgorod, Kursk, and Taganrog, territories used by Russian units for staging drone launches and satellite uplinks. These weren't mass swarms, these were surgical hits. Each drone carried a payload of thermobaric pressure charges designed to destroy equipment, not buildings. The goal was clear: erase the launch infrastructure, blind the enemy's relay towers, and disrupt command sync. And it worked. Multiple explosions were recorded near a suspected Shahed preparation facility outside Belgorod. Unconfirmed satellite imagery released hours later showed 2 hangars reduced to metal skeletons and scorched tarmac. But this wasn't retaliation, it was a warning. Ukraine wanted Moscow to understand: if you want to escalate with drones, we can escalate with precision. However, the more chilling discovery came not from radar logs, but from drone debris. Recovery teams operating outside Zaporizhzhia analyzed one of the downed Russian units and found a completely new circuit routing inside. Not Iranian, not Chinese. This was domestic Russian hardware, AI-guided, edge computing enabled, and built to evade jamming by dynamically switching frequencies every 2 seconds. This means only one thing: Russia has moved past imports. They're building smarter, homegrown drone variants, and they're testing them on real targets, every night. Intelligence units quickly briefed the president's office. The terminology used was specific: unmanned digital reconnaissance with live mapping capability. In short, the drones weren't there to hit. They were there to learn. They flew above their targets, absorbed data, and relayed movement speed, signal reaction time, and radar pulse strength, all in real time. That's why 3 of them broke off pattern and flew high. They weren't failing. They were adapting. And here's where it gets worse. The new drones didn't just avoid radar, they used it. One was observed mimicking the response signature of a Ukrainian transport aircraft, flying just behind an actual friendly target to slip past tracking. This was confirmed by 2 different operators. That's not programming. That's field-level deception. Russia is pushing unmanned warfare into the next phase, using drones as scouts, bait, and tactical decoys. And Ukraine's generals know exactly what that means, because if this was just a probe, the real strike won't be 17, it'll be 170. And next time, they won't come alone. 6:40 a.m. Within hours of the attack, encrypted NATO comms lit up. A situation yellow advisory was issued across multiple forward operating bases, confirming that Russian drone warfare doctrine had shifted from target-specific strikes to data-driven swarm operations. Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states were immediately looped into a secure briefing. The core concern wasn't just about where Russia had struck, it was about why. The consensus was clear. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was part of a larger drone pressure campaign, possibly synced to coincide with an upcoming offensive on the ground. In Kiev, emergency meetings were held inside Ukraine's Joint Forces Command. Sources confirmed that for the first time in months, Ukraine's air defense net was evaluated as exceeding saturation threshold. In simple terms, the number of drones being intercepted each night is beginning to outpace the number of missiles available to stop them. And in a drone war, math matters. Every Shahed that costs Russia $20,000 requires hundreds of thousands in counter-defense. The longer this continues, the more strain it puts on Ukraine's frontline operators and budget. And Moscow knows that. Meanwhile, intercepted Russian comms from Belgorod revealed that drone operators had already logged detailed flight records from the attack. These logs, if accurate, show coordination between airborne drones and ground-based electronic warfare vehicles. In plain English, the drones weren't just flying blind. They were being guided mid-air by mobile units on the ground. This kind of tactical pairing increases accuracy by 70% and makes interception harder with every minute. Ukrainian military engineers say it's the beginning of a new pattern: remote-guided, adaptive swarm behavior. NATO analysts also raised alarm over a more disturbing signal. Satellite intel picked up heavy activity around 2 airfields in Russia's Krasnodar region. Those airfields are known for drone stockpiling and cyber warfare testing. Movement logs from the past 24 hours show increased vehicle transfers, sudden heat blooms at drone pads, and low-flying aircraft taking off in formation, likely to disguise thermal signatures. That can only mean one thing: another wave is being prepared, and this one won't be a test. Ukraine has already begun repositioning air defense assets, rotating launchers, and deploying more EW teams. But even with those precautions, there's no denying one fact: the sky is becoming unpredictable. You can intercept a missile, you can jam a signal, but when drones move like scouts, bait, decoys, and attackers all in one, you're not fighting a machine. You're fighting an invisible playbook. And so far, Russia's writing it in real time. Is NATO ready for a war where drones don't just strike, they think? By 8:30 a.m., Ukrainian forces were already moving. New mobile radar units were deployed to secondary firing zones outside Kharkiv and Mykolaiv. Air defense crews were rotated, command handovers were accelerated, and electronic warfare vehicles were sent closer to the front line. Aerial surveillance patterns were doubled. NATO reconnaissance planes operating in Romanian airspace shifted positions, expanding their coverage arc across southern Ukraine. The message was clear: this wasn't over, and when the next wave comes, Ukraine intends to meet it faster, harder, and with fewer blind spots. Inside a secure operations facility in Lviv, a high-priority briefing was delivered to senior Ukrainian command staff. The core conclusion: Russia isn't using drones to replace missiles. They're using them to control the pace of the war. Every flight teaches them more. Every intercept gives them feedback. Every successful hit confirms a vulnerability. This is no longer just warfare, it's real-time adaptation. And Ukraine isn't the only one paying attention. NATO cyber defense units have already begun analyzing the recovered drone chips. One report shows traces of foreign coding language embedded deep inside the firmware, the kind associated with advanced AI decision trees. That means one thing: the drones weren't just reacting to coordinates. They were processing new inputs and adjusting mid-flight. Western allies are accelerating support. The U.S. confirmed an emergency shipment of 400 new air-to-air interceptors, along with upgraded drone tracking software. Germany has deployed additional IRIS-T units to Ukrainian strategic zones, and Poland is now operating under expanded alert protocol, allowing real-time joint airspace tracking with Ukraine during active drone raids. But even with this support, the concern remains: quantity is a threat, and Russia has it. For Ukraine, the reality is brutal. They're holding the line, but that line is being tested from above every single night, And if even one drone slips through the gaps, if even one is carrying more than data or explosives, it could trigger a chain reaction Ukraine cannot afford. That's why they're responding now. Fast, no hesitation, because in this phase of the war, hesitation equals vulnerability. And the final message? It isn't just for Ukraine. It's for every hostile state watching, every proxy group thinking of replicating this model, and every rogue actor studying how cheap drones can disrupt expensive war machines. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Don't mistake drones for toys, because when you violate the skies above a sovereign nation, what comes back isn't just radar. It's steel, retaliation, and global consequences. This was 17 drones. It started with 17, but the next number could change the map. What do you think is coming next? Is the next war already in the air? And are we watching it happen in real time?